am a nutrition coach from the UK, and I also have a full-time job as well, but I've been working with lots of different clients over the last year or so, and I'm going to choose, the topic that I've chosen today is one that's very close to people's hearts in terms of what are the most important factors for sustainable fat loss. And I put the word sustainable in there because quite often people go on diets, they come out of diets, and it's very rare when people can find a diet that they can actually stick to and adhere to. So this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So do you want me just to carry on, Anshav, or do you have any questions?
No, I think you carry on with your talks right now, and we will definitely ask questions once you are through with your powerful 10-minute speech.
Okay, brilliant. So the first most important factor is adherence. And this is probably the #1 reason why people fail their diets. It's because they haven't found a solution or a way of eating that is suitable for their lifestyle. Okay, so the first and most important thing to do is to find a diet that you can adhere to. And that can start, what that means is you start by making small changes. The smaller the changes, the more sustainable the dieting period can be. Because let's face it, nobody likes to diet. It's not a very, it's not a fun period, okay? You eat less, you have to move more, and it can be quite frustrating when you don't see the results. So, as I said, the #1 reason why diets don't work is because of adherence. So there's 2 types of diets that you can follow. Some people buy diet plans, which are quite rigid, whereby you just follow a given meal plan, and if you can adhere to it, you adhere to it. The other way, the most common popular choice, is by flexible dieting, whereby you eat 80% of nutritious food and 20% being little treats that you might like. So you're not making a complete change to your diet. What you're doing is you're just implementing small changes, but getting better results. And because we're making small changes, people are more likely to adhere to that diet. And there's lots of different ways of trying to diet in terms of calorie cycling. We all have social events that we want to go to. We might be working away from home. So there are many methods of trying to adapt a diet that suits your lifestyle. And at the end of the day, what we want is sustainable weight loss. So that's #1. #2 is energy balance. So it's all about calories in versus calories out. Unless you have a medical condition, which means that that principle wouldn't work for you. For example, if you're a diabetic, we know that diabetes is a hormone-related medical condition, and hormones can affect the rate of weight loss. So it's all about calories in, calories out. Calories in is the food that we eat. Calories out is the energy that we expend. If you eat more than you burn, you will gain weight. If you eat less than you burn, you will lose weight. And if you eat the same as you burn, you will maintain your weight. And there's lots of different ways to calculate this. There are many different formulas that you can use in order to discover what is the right formulation for you. Quite often what happens is people miscalculate these formulas, and therefore diets may or may not be successful according to that. And what happens when you have is when you follow a rigid diet plan, you might have somebody who's 5'2", who's 25 years old, following the same diet as somebody who is 5'8" and maybe 55. They both might have different types of lifestyles, jobs, etc. So one person may get better results through their weight loss, whilst the other person isn't. So therefore, it's not being adapted to the individual. And that's what it's all about, is it's adapting a diet that is individual to your needs and to your lifestyle. So there's lots of different methods of weight loss and dieting, but the principle always stays the same, and that is you need to be in a calorie deficit in order to achieve weight loss. And different methods might include things like intermittent fasting or fasting for 24 hours, the keto diet, paleo diet. Over here we have something called Weight Watchers. So there's lots of different types of diets that you can that you can undertake. They are all the methods, but the principle always remains the same, and that is the energy balance. You need to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. And the method can be down to individual preference. So it might suit some people to do a 24-hour fast once a week. It might suit other people to follow a low carbohydrate diet. It's all down to the individual person's preference. And then the final factor is exercise. Exercise is not essential, but we all know that exercise is good for our heart and it's good for our general overbeing and health, okay? So the type of exercise that I would recommend to my clients is to do some form of resistance training. And the reason why resistance training is better than cardio, or more effective than cardio, is because through resistance training, you get to retain muscle mass. Because when we are eating in a calorie deficit, we're putting quite a lot of stress on our body. And what happens as a result is as your dieting period continues, it's natural that you will lose some muscle as well as body fat, and you will also lose some bone density. So the only way to combat this is through resistance training. And I would recommend resistance training 3 or 4 times a week for about 45 minutes. And you'll also see better changes in body composition by doing resistance training. You know, the more you lose weight, if you want to improve your body composition, then resistance training is definitely the way forward. And let's not forget, you cannot out-train a bad diet. You can go to the gym as many times as you want to go to, but let's not forget that when you are going to the gym, you are there for 1 hour of a 12-hour day that you're awake. So what you do in the other 11 hours of that day is probably just as important as what you're doing inside the gym. And what I mean by that is something called NEAT. So NEAT is quite severely underestimated, and even for myself, when I was following a diet, this is one thing that that never occurred to me. And by making these small changes, I then started to see dramatic results. And this is also what I tell my clients is NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And what that means is it's everything that you do outside of the gym. So it's just your day-to-day activity. It could be washing, walking the kids to school, doing the shopping, housework. It's just the general things that we do from day to day. And that is the thing that we need to make sure that we keep on top of to make sure that we see our results. So I recommend that my clients buy an activity tracker. So by having an activity tracker, what it does is it enables you to ensure that you hit a minimum amount of expenditure, energy expenditure throughout the day. So for example, I would say to my clients, okay, let's start off with 10,000 steps a day as a minimum. Okay, so then we know that you're not just sitting down and doing nothing for the rest of the day, because some people have office jobs. Some people might be a postman, so they're walking a lot more. So as I said, you can't out-train a bad diet. It's 80% nutrition and 20% what goes on in the gym, okay? So as we said, so there are 3 important factors for sustainable weight loss. There's adherence, energy balance, and exercise. But more importantly, what you need to do is to ensure that you have a plan that is individual to you, because what works for you will not work for somebody else. Your activity, your lifestyle, your preferences of food can be very different to somebody else's. So you need to work around that to make sure that you get effective results.
Okay, thanks, Manisha. I think that was really a good insight. Of course, for us, it's like an alien world, because I myself is not practicing a lot of those things which you have explained, especially the kind of exercises which always are required, and always being away from that. I mean, of course, the time is always a constraint because of a lot of things, but then I think we should bring that into more detail into ecosystem. And I'm sure, you know, when you work with clients one-on-one or with people, that may bring in more synergy, you know, more beneficial for them, because then you know their day-to-day routine and you can work it out, how it is impacting, and you know, how it is improving for them. So Manisha, I think we you know, just have one question before we give the opportunity to Jaya. Jaya is back. So is that do you use some of the applications or the health applications while doing these nutritional based programs?
Yes, you mean in terms of what kind of tracking devices, etc., do I use? I generally get clients to log their food, so track their food. That way they are able to plan their meals in advance. So I use MyFitnessPal. I also recommend to my clients that if they have some form of activity tracker, so for example, Fitbit, then we use those kind of apps too. And within those apps, you can log your weight, you can I can see what their activity has been like. So on a Monday morning, generally, they will send me all their data for the week just gone, and I'll be able to look to see what changes, if any, we need to implement for the next day. But one of the things that you just said was really crucial about understanding about people's lives. One of the first things I do when I meet a client is I want to understand about their lifestyle. I want to understand what kind of job they have, what kind of pressures are they under, do they have children? And that helps me create a picture of what is going to be realistic for them, because as I've just said, my recommendation would be to go to the gym 3 times a week, but that might not be possible. So if time is tight, I would make other recommendations or suggestions which would help them to achieve their goal.
Okay, Manisha. So thank you so much, Manisha, for you know, spending time with us. I think it's early morning there, and but still you have made your time for us. So thanks for joining us.